Hello, everyone. Welcome to My Other's Keeper. Today is Friday game day. Unfortunately, many of my regulars are not able to come today for various reasons, most of them medical. So definitely don't begrudge them that. But if you are here and you want to join me, I would love to be able to play a game with you. We have a variety of things falling on my desk, is what we have a variety of. We have some Trivial Pursuit questions as well. I just dug out my game of Tribond. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular game. It's a game where you get three words and you have to figure out what the connection is between the three. So, yeah, I thought that would be fun to try this today. Those ones are all finished. All right. So, if you want to come on and not just listen to me ramble, please do. Otherwise, I can simply ramble. Um, some things that have been going on in our household, really kind of inconsequential, but they're kind of fun. Um, Outside, we have a birdhouse, and in that birdhouse, last year we had a family of wrens, and they had four babies come out and come out in the summer. And I was so excited. I actually was able to watch them fledge, so watch them take their first ever flights, and I actually recorded it on my phone. Oh, it was so exceptional being able to see that. Um, and then um, this year, there's a sparrow that decided they wanted in on that house. And I'm like, no, that's not okay. So the sparrow and the wren were fighting over who got to go in, and each of them were taking in a variety of different nesting materials and such. So it was kind of funny. And then yesterday, it's like, I don't want there to accidentally be sparrow eggs in there for the wren. So yesterday, we actually went and we made the hole for the word I'm looking for is birdhouse smaller, and that was a whole interesting and entertaining thing all on its own. Had to cut out a new piece of wood and find the right size of hole saw. Now, do you know how hard it is to find a 1 and a 16th or a 1 and an 1/8 inch hole saw? How many of you know what a hole saw is? It's a little saw that has like a little tube, a little cylinder, and on the outside of the cylinder are teeth that look like a saw. And then in the center of that is a drill bit. So the center is the drill bit, starts the hole, gets it set, and then they make a little hole. So we got that. We got a 1 inch, no, a 7/8 inch hole, and we needed 1 and an 1/8 or 1 and a quarter or something like that. So we had to sit there and we had to sand it and sand it and sand it. Finally, I got my Dremel out. It's like, okay, we're going to use power tools. So we used some power tools, and there we go. That was just kind of a fun little thing. And then all morning, it was like, okay, this poor little sparrow is holding nesting materials in her mouth, and she's in there, and she kind of pokes her head toward the hole. It's like, why don't I fit? I fit here yesterday. Why don't I fit today? So she was very confused little sparrow. But then, just about 10 minutes ago, I was out looking at the birdhouse, and there goes the wren right in. She's happy in there. So we did it just the right size for the wrens. Sparrows, they can nest anywhere. Wrens have a harder time with that. So I'm just really excited about that. Let's see. Do we have anyone? Let me just check here on my. There we go. Do we have anyone here talking or anything? Chatting? Okay, yes, please do click on the link, the StreamYard link. I would be more than happy to have you join me. If there is nobody who joins me, I don't know that I can keep up chat for all that long. I don't have any particular topic to talk about, or I would. Um, yeah. So, as well, this coming Tuesday, I do not have a particular guest on. I am thinking of showing you one of the things that keeps me sane, and it's how I paint a variety of paintings like this. It's called paint pouring. And so on Tuesday evening, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be showing you a paint pour, how I do it, how I decide the colors, mixing the colors, and all of that stuff. So, for those of you who are even slightly artistically inclined, or even just are curious as to what kind of keeps me sane, um, that's something we can do. So, how long should I? Yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up over here. There, I have a friend in the office, the studio room, and she's unable to join us on screen, but she's giving me a thumbs up, so this is good. Anyway, um, but yeah, that's kind of what we're up to. Um, if reach down here. Oh, hang on, I've got a large sheaf of papers here. Trying to remember why. Okay, that's the Enneagram stuff. Oh, and here's some people who have OCD and just a variety of mental illness papers. So, something that I am passionate about is debunking the myths about mental illness, about breaking the stigmas around a variety of illnesses, in particular mental illness. And this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, I want you all to remember everybody has mental health. Everybody, just like you have physical health. But you also have mental health. Not everybody who has mental health has mental illness. Like, not everybody who has physical health is currently ill. And like other physical illnesses, not all mental illnesses are a permanent feature. They are sometimes something that just lasts for a period of time. For example, if you if you've got a death in the family, or you're grieving something very deeply, it might last, like the hallmark is, they say, only about 2 weeks. Well, if you're deeply grieving something, it's going to be longer than 2 weeks. So getting and talking to somebody, that's super important. Don't be afraid of how you feel, even if you're not even understanding what you feel. Tommy on the lifeboat and the Cults and Crims uh, podcast, he talks about journaling. So find what you're thinking about, even if it's just starting with a sentence of um, the sentence, stop stigmatizing and romanticizing OCD. So it's like, okay, let me think. What is OCD to me? What does it mean to me? It means this, 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 and this. Or, for example, this one, something completely different. This is about the Enneagrams. A month or so ago, we had Leanne on talking about Enneagrams, personality styles, and that sort of thing. So I have all of the information here as well for that. But think about, who was my kindergarten teacher? What do I remember? Who were my classmates? Who were my favorite classmates in grade 6? How many times have I moved? Where have I moved to? What are my best memories of those places where I've moved? For my sister, my mother, and I, there's a lot of them. And there's some great memories, and then there's some really, really tragic memories in many of the places where we have lived. So just kind of don't be afraid of facing those memories and saying, okay, this memory hurt me. Why did it hurt me? Does it hurt me still? This is something you can look at when you're writing in a journal. And writing in a journal is not for anyone else's eyes. You can use whatever shorthand, whatever abbreviations that will make sense to you later on, as long as you know that you're going to remember it. I don't always know I'm going to remember that. But yeah, I am still waiting for somebody else to come on. I've got another, let's see what's going on here. My sister said she might join me. She may not join me on camera, but she would join me. And so I'm looking forward to that. There we go. And she has not yet joined me in the studio. So anyway, um, one of a friend of mine, a very, very dear friend of mine, is recently has recently decided that she needs to take a step away from where she works because, like myself, there's a bullying situation. I'm not going to talk about her situation. I'll talk about mine. My situation was that, um, and I have no idea what his reason for it was, but he decided that I needed to not be a teacher there anymore. So he was going to bully me and make me think that I couldn't teach, that I didn't know what I was doing, that I was doing everything wrong. So it was couched as discipline. I was being disciplined for not providing proper um, lesson plans for substitute teachers, which was a pile of manure because I was providing exactly the same type of lesson plans that everybody else did. I even just got it straight out of a book. Here's the lesson plan, here's how you teach it. And that's my rainy day lesson plan. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff he was saying I didn't do. And I'm like, well, there it is right there. Anyways, so it was that kind of idea that he was he was telling me I was doing it wrong, and he got another one of his team, one of our supervisors on his side to tell me, "Yep, I agree, you're not doing it right." And this particular supervisor is somebody that I used to consider a friend. And when they get that going on you, that really makes it more difficult to say, "Well, no, it's just them." Well, it started as this is a disciplinary action. You have 6 weeks, and after 6 weeks, you're either going to be better and teaching all right and that kind of stuff, or you're going to be fired. That was, but it was a verbal warning. Well, for the verbal warning, they did have a piece of paper that they had me sign that they gave me this verbal warning. That doesn't look like a verbal warning to me. And on there, it did specifically say that everything was open, including being fired. So from day one of that disciplinary action, I had the axe hanging over my head. They were going to come in and stop in on my class randomly, just without notice to say, okay, here we are, let's watch you do this. And that was also incredibly stressful because I didn't know when or what or how something was going to be said. The reviews that I got were written up. The ones when they did come see me were written up in such a chicken scroll, like literally unreadable writing. And I was supposed to get something out of that. So, I mean, there was a whole pile of stuff. And of course, at that point, you're like, okay, am I really doing this wrong? Am I really not getting it to the point where I'm an ineffective teacher? Am I just not able to function at the level of other people? Because I know that I have these mental illness things going on in my head. So am I not as good as everybody else? Well, to ask any other teacher in the office, to ask any of my students except for one person complained, and she shouldn't have been in my class in the first place. But to ask anybody else, I was an excellent teacher. I knew what I was doing and I got the point across and I got my students to where they needed to be. But according to this boss, according to that supervisor who helped him out, I didn't. That's called gaslighting. It's not just saying, "Oh, you're wrong," when I say that I'm right. Like, "Oh, I know this happened." No, it didn't. Well, no, it's a longer process than that. That is part of it. But gaslighting also starts out with something they call love bombing. So, where they tell you all of this wonderful things about how you're a great person, how you're a wonderful teacher, how you are the only person who can get through to all of these people. And that's how he was talking to me for years before this. I wouldn't have called it love bombing. I would have said it was simply positive affirmation that that's how things were going. Um, but then suddenly it started all this negative stuff. And because it was under the guise of discipline, I was not able to do a workers' compensation claim for it. I was told that because it was discipline, it needed to be handled in house. Well, I was so beyond stressed. I was sick to my stomach. My blood sugars, I was diabetic, but maintained just by a single medication, an oral medication. I got to a point where I had a major panic attack. Instantly, I needed to be on insulin. Like from that moment on, I had no idea that stress had that much uh, capacity to affect your insulin levels or your sugar levels in your body. So I had to be on insulin. So suddenly I'm now dealing with this at work and having to learn how to do insulin. Then, after a period of time, I said, "When are you gonna come and do your check-ins or whatever?" "Oh, no, it's random. It's gonna be not when you're expecting it." I'm like, "It's been 2 months. This was only supposed to be a 6-week thing, and it's already been more than 2 months." Like, "Oh, I've given you more times to do this." He didn't give me more time to fix things. He gave himself more time to get into my brain. That's not okay. And then he started giving me extra work to do. I was no longer allowed to simply plan my classes, and I was no longer allowed to simply give my students what I wanted to as lessons. I had to pass my lesson plans by him or this supervisor. I had to pre plan for weeks and weeks ahead what I was going to teach. That's not how I teach. I teach to student need. So if a student needs XYZ, but the lesson plan system says that they need to learn JH or HIJ, I'm going to teach the XYZ. I'm not going to teach the HI or J, the other ones. Um, and that's the type of teacher I am because I want the students to learn what they need, not simply what I need to give them or what the boss says I need to give them. I think that was one of the problems he had is I wasn't following the curriculum specifically enough, but my students were thriving, and I think that bothered him. Um, Finally, in November of 2015, uh, after it was 6 or 8 months or something like that of this entire protracted experience, he walked into the office and my desk was up at this corner, whole pile of bookcases and a whole pile of other desks between where the door and I were. I couldn't see the door couldn't see me. And he walked in and he simply started talking to somebody else. Instantly, I was a flood of tears. Gone. I was shaking like a leaf. I couldn't it was like it was 40 below in the office and I was just shaking. I could not control it. And I'm like, "I cannot teach today. I cannot do this." Um, so at that point, I went to my doctor that day and I got a note from my general practitioner, my family doctor, and she's like, "Yeah, you need a stress break. We'll start you at a month." And then I went to home and I went to sleep and I kept sleeping and I was in bed 18 to 20 hours a day for almost a full year. That's what bullying can do to a person. That's what gaslighting can do to a person. It broke me. I used to not really be a crier before that. Not that I couldn't cry, it's just I wouldn't cry at the drop of a hat. I now cry at a lot of things that I normally wouldn't have. Um, when we were, ah, lost my train of thought. Anyway, after November of 2015, I was no longer able to concentrate on work. I was no longer able to, um, I didn't have the confidence anymore that I was able to do these things. He totally sucked all of my confidence in teaching. And so I got a new job after a year or so. I got a new job at a different workplace, and I said, "Okay." I was straightforth with her. I said, "This is what's happened. I cannot do please don't expect me to do." She's like, "Okay, yep, we will have you substitute, and you will not have to do this, this, and this." I'm like, "Okay, good." Like, I could only work for a certain amount of time at a time. I couldn't I didn't have to write tests for the students, and I didn't have to do evaluations. Those are the 3 things. Because those are in particular, those were the hardest things. The working a period of time was simply I needed the rest. Um, so my new boss was excellent. She was excellent. And the students there reported to the other staff, and I was one of the most popular substitute teachers they had. I had several regular teachers saying, "Please apply to be a regular teacher. We need you." And I'm like, "Well, I'd really rather not." My total confidence was completely sapped. Then go forward a number of years and COVID happened, and I had absolutely every intention of going back and teaching my usual part-time uh, substitute gig. And I've also been a hairdresser since 1990. So I've been a hairdresser for at least 5 or 10 minutes. And so the 2 things I can do without even thinking about it are teaching and doing hair. So in 1 week, I tried to do my daughter's hair. I tried to, I think it was color her hair, and I lost it. I was shaking, heart palpitations, I was sweating buckets, and I just had a major panic attack doing something I have been 100% able to do with no issues since 1990. And then I was given all of the materials to sub a class for a couple of days. And the entire time I was teaching that class again, it was virtual, so I wasn't in front of the classroom, which was a real godsend because I could sit there in the chair and just shake. But I was shaking, and again, totally soaked in sweat, totally feeling like I didn't deserve the position that I was in. Um, that's what gaslighting can do to a person. I'm now told by my psychiatrist, no working, you're done. Unfortunately, it was enough time between the um, first part where I was first went on leave to where I ended up where my doctor said, no, no more working, that all of my insurance had run out for going on permanent disability. So I can't do that even. Uh, Now, having said all of that negative stuff, there have been blessings. There really have. I get to spend a whole lot more time with my kids than I would have otherwise. I learned how to paint. I learned how to paint not only this style of painting, but also concrete works of art so that it is like a recognizable thing with a little ladybug there. I learned how to I learned how to deal with my stress. I learned how to deal with bullies. I learned how to rely on my faith. That shouldn't be the 4th one in the list. That's probably the first one in the list. I relied on my faith first. Um, I learned that my worth wasn't only in my job. My worth was who I am, not just what I could do for somebody else. I thought I had learned all of those things ages and ages and ages ago. Apparently, I really needed to be taught those things again because there I was in that situation. So now that I am permanently disabled, whatever that means. I have one student that I teach once a week, and we teach to her need, and we teach to her level, and we teach to topics and subjects that she needs to know to get along in life. She's a restaurant owner in the town where I live, and she needs to know restaurant stuff. And then she also wants to know things about our town and the communities around us and all of these other things. So I'm able now to reach out specifically to her and help her work with these things. Um, I'm able to go to art shows and feel like, I am an artist. I'm not just somebody who slaps around and does stuff. Because, yeah, this may look like a 12-year-old could do it or a 5-year-old could do it. They can't. Let me tell you, it's a lot more complex than that. Um, it is being able to be with my husband any evening, any weekend that we need. And that has been wonderful for our marriage. Not making money, not so wonderful, but the personal time has been fabulous. So, in all of that other schmoz, in all of that other um, mess, for the longest time, I'm at the other side where I can look back and say, yeah, that sucked. That was horrible. I don't wish that on anyone ever. But I can also say, you know what? There have been good things that have come out of this. I don't want to be Little Miss Mary Sunshine, but I do want to say, I look at the positive or I look for the positive in almost any situation. Even while I'm going through something terrible like that bullying situation from work, even while I'm going through that, it's like, okay, this sucks. And I know it's going to suck for a long time. But at some point, I'm going to learn something and I'm going to be able to talk intelligently, compassionately, empathetically with a whole group of people that I never would have been able to talk with otherwise. So now that it's been almost a half an hour, if there's anybody out there watching and they would like to join me in playing some games because I have time to play some games, please let me know. The link is in the chat. I would love to have you on. Just give me a shout. So, and I think I made the person in my studio cry. Anyway, um, but yeah, I would love to be able to have you join me on screen and play some games. Do you want to just see how bad I am at certain things? Okay. So there's different categories. What are the different categories? I had that. Here we go. The categories are entertainment, sports and recreation, academics, miscellaneous. So there's four. I'm going to keep my hand on the back. There's four. There we go. Sections. There we go. So I have to figure out what is the same or what ties the three together. Um, that that works. Crystal, thank you so much. If it wasn't for all that, you wouldn't be the compassionate person you are and able to do what you do online and connect with people. Thank you, Crystal. I love you, my girl. You're wonderful, and I appreciate you. All right. So, entertainment. Tony Dow, Hugh Beaumont, and Barbara Billingsley. Tony Dow, Hugh Beaumont, and Barbara Billingsley for entertainment. I'm going to say that they're all movie producers. Let's see if I'm right. No, they are actors on TV show Leave It to Beaver. There we go. Barbara Billingsley. I knew that name sounded familiar. I just didn't know why. Okay. Wooden, Knight, and Crumb. Wooden, knight, like a knight with armor, and crumb, like a crumbly cookie. Crumb. Wooden knight and crumb. And that is in the category of sports and recreation. Okay, I'm going to say that those are all things to do with, let's go with chess. College basketball coaches. Yeah, no, I had nothing. I got nothing. Okay, dates, academics. Okay, here we go. April 15th, 1865. Oh, we know about these from our days in Balderdash. April 15th, 1965, November 22nd, 1963, and September 6th, 1901. They don't go in order. 1865, 1963, and 1901. So they don't go in order. Um, I have no idea. I'm going to say those are days that wars started. Days of presidential assassinations. That was actually my next guess. The presidential assassinations was my next guess. But of course, I second guessed myself. That's the way it goes. Okay, anybody wants to join me? All right. Well, it's been just over 30 minutes. I am going to say thank you all for joining me. I'm sorry that this ended up being a very heavy topic today rather than fun and games. But join me next week on Tuesday evening, the 28th. I will be doing a paint pour demonstration for you. And on the 30th, we're going to talk to Ben Bacon Bits Turner about hope, about going through difficult times and where he finds hope and why hope is how we can overcome a lot when it comes to our mental health. That's what I have now. I didn't have that when I was going through that terrible situation at work, but I do have it now. Because of that, I'm able to smile, I'm able to sing, and I'm able to just enjoy what life brings for me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.